You still recording? Keep this. Girl, I'm like, oh, we getting there. So about 8 years ago, I was living in Houston, Texas, and I found out that I had cancer. I had lymphoma. It was stage 4. It was in my bone marrow. So it was crazy because the symptoms were like diarrhea. I was like extremely tired, like just crazy tired, nauseous, and I kept going to the doctor, and they were like, "Oh, it's just a summer virus. You'll be all right." And I'm like, "No, this is something else." So that went on for a couple of months, and then I actually was admitted to the hospital, and then they were like, "We're gonna do a bone marrow biopsy on you," and that's when they found out I had lymphoma. And so then I went through a year and a half of chemo, and it was like strong chemo, but luckily none of my hair fell out, like none of that stuff happened, but it was very, very strong chemo, and it started to affect my heart. So I moved to Atlanta to be closer to family, to go through this process, finish out the process to be closer to family. And then that's when I switched to immunotherapy, and it worked, and that cleared me up. So, went on about my life, living my best life, then came to New York, still living my best life. And last summer, I just turned 37, and I found out cancer had came back. I had a headache for about 3 days, and I was like, this is weird. Like, why do I have a headache? Nothing was crazy. I just had a headache for 3 days. Called my doctor, went in, he did labs, did all the other good stuff, and he was like, you're severely anemic. You need to go to the hospital to get blood. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I went, and they did another bone marrow biopsy, and sure enough, they were like, well, you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain, blood, all that other good stuff because the cancer has come back. And so I was like, all right, great. Initially, I was very disappointed because it's like I had already been through this. Like, well, why do I have to go through this again? Then I accepted it, and I was like, okay, whatever. You've been through this before. You know what to do. You can get through it. So cool. Went through about a year of chemo. No, I did immunotherapy again because I was like, I know how harsh chemo is. I know what it does. Like, I don't want to do it. Went through a year of immunotherapy. It did not work. And then I ended up switching doctors. I went over to NYU just because I just didn't like the bedside manners at where I was. And so I switched over to NYU, and they were like, okay, we're going to do a stem cell replacement, but we're going to do everything we need to do to get you to that point, to get you into remission, to get you to the point so we can do the stem cell replacement. And so I was like, all right. So I went through what they call ICE, which is extreme chemotherapy. It was 3 days a week for 8 hours a day. And I did that every 3 weeks. And I had 3 rounds of that. And with that, I honestly didn't feel any side effects, really, because they really controlled the symptoms. So it wasn't crazy diarrhea. It wasn't crazy nausea. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could possibly be. And then, of course, my hair fell out. I had to go through that experience, and that happened right before my 38th birthday. And that was like, they say it is just hair. And I always felt like, oh, it's just hair, like you'll be fine, like whatever. But it was traumatizing seeing that hair fall out in clumps. And it's like, I have a hair and a beard, and like seeing all that hair fall out, it was just like, okay, wow, this is really real. And that's when I decided to tell everybody what was going on, because now you can physically see, like, I didn't have hair. But I still really didn't look like what I was going through, because people were like, oh, I just thought you cut your hair. Like, I don't know, it's hot outside. Yeah, went through that. Hair grew back, was doing good, and then it was time for the stem cell replacement. So I was really afraid for the stem cell replacement. I'm not gonna lie, I knew what chemo could do, but the fact to go through the transplant, I was like, oh, what is this like? So I always ask the doctors, I was like, so what is it like? Like, how do people tolerate it? Like, what's gonna happen? And they were like, oh, it's gonna be bad, but it'll be okay. Like, it'll be bad, but you'll bounce back. But they never really told you what really happens. And that's why I think it's very important to talk about this. A lot of people know what chemo does to you, but the stem cell replacement, a lot of people don't know what that's like. And all the videos that I saw, I felt like people kind of just glossed over it to make it seem like, oh, it's going to be tough, but you'll be fine. And it is true. It's tough, but you'll be fine. But I wanted to like say what really happens. So in order to prepare for the bone marrow transplant, I had to get a central line put into my chest. It is literally 2 tubes that come out of your chest like this, and they had to be taped to my body. I wore those tubes for about like a month, probably like 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. I had those tubes coming out. So they were like under my shirt, all that stuff. It was very weird, but had to do it. So leading up to the transplant, they insert the line, that's what they call it, the central line, and they give you a shot. I had to go for a week to get a shot in my stomach that makes my white blood cells produce very, very fast. And so your white blood cells are producing very quickly, but it hurts. I think it was 3 days. I don't think it was 5 days. I think it was 3 days in a row. But the white cells are in your bone marrow, so it's inside of your bone, so your bone is expanding, so you feel the pain. I will get out of the bed and feel like, oh my God, I can't walk. It almost feels like when you go to the gym and you do it's leg day, it feels like that times 10. Like it's painful to walk, but it doesn't last forever because the next day they extract the cells. So they extract the cells, it looks like you're on a dialysis machine. So it's like it's pulling the cells out and then putting the blood back in. That was about 3 hours. And once you're on the machine, you cannot use the bathroom. If you have to use the bathroom, they'll bring it to you. You can eat, you can do all the things because it's painless. So it's painless. They wanted to collect about, I think they said 3 million cells, but they got 6 million. So that was good. We did that. And then you have to wait about 5 days. And then you start the chemo. So you have to do chemo for 7 days a week. And remember the side effects of chemo, you don't feel it until maybe 2 to 3 days later. So you're doing chemo every single day. And chemo was probably like 30 minutes every day. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't crazy. But the last day, the chemo was about maybe 2 hours. And it's the type of chemo where you have to like chew ice or eat a popsicle while you're doing it, just to make sure things don't happen to your mouth, like you get ulcers and all this other stuff. Still felt no side effects of the chemo. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Oh, this is easy. On day 7, once you do the chemo, you go to the hospital to get the transplant. So I was admitted into the hospital. I still was feeling fine. Nothing was crazy. And then the next day was the actual transplant. The actual transplant is very anticlimactic. You do all these things leading up to it, and it just looks like a blood transfusion. They hang a bag and they connect you to it, and then your cells go into you, and then they take it out. It's like a 20-minute procedure. And I'm in the hospital. I'm still good, and then I get released the next day. They just want to make sure that you don't have any side effects or anything. I get released, and that is when all hell breaks loose. So now here is the real. So I came home, of course, like I was fine the first day. The next day I started feeling very tired, very lethargic. You have to have a caretaker. So my mom came, she was with me during that week of the chemo, and then she stayed until I started to get better. So she stayed about 5 weeks. And you need a caretaker. They do tell you that you need a caretaker, but I don't think they emphasize enough. Like, you have to have somebody to advocate for you, to remember things when you can't remember things, to force you to eat, to help you, and to just really be there to support you. Like, if my mom wasn't here with me, like, y'all, I don't think I would have made it. Like, she was my major support system. She cooked. She made sure I drank liquids, because you don't want to drink. Like, you're just tired if you want to sleep. So I got really tired. Even taking a shower, I felt like my body was so heavy, and I had to mentally keep telling myself, like, okay, you got to get up, you got to get up, you got to take a shower, you got to take a shower. I had to prepare myself mentally for all of that. You're very tired. And then diarrhea kicks in. And when I tell you, it's not like, oh, I just got the runs. No, it's extreme diarrhea. Like, they didn't tell me that, oh, you're probably going to need Tux. You're probably going to need Preparation H. You're going to need all this stuff. Those are things that I had to order, like, on Uber Eats, because nobody knew. And you probably need Depends too, because it is very hard to try to get up and run to the bathroom when you're already tired. You feel the sense of urgency and you're trying to run to the bathroom, and then you still, as soon as you take your drawers off, it's coming out. So it's like you want to be prepared, even if you don't need it, like you need to be prepared. You feel like the weight of the world is on you. And then remember, you're feeling everything, all the side effects of the chemo. You're feeling all of that. And then you have no cells. So your body has literally went down to zero and is trying to build itself back up, so you don't have an immune system. So you are literally a newborn child, but you're an adult and you feel all of this. The chemo started, the side effects of the chemo, it started to come through my pores. So I had crazy hyperpigmentation on my face. Then my hair started to fall out. So I had to call the barber, and he came and cut my hair, my barber Ron. Thank God for Ron. And then that happened. I remember all that happened on a Friday. Like, I was so tired. I actually got a fever, and it was the day before my mom's birthday, October 6th. Her birthday is the 7th. And then on the 7th, I actually got admitted back to the hospital because I had a fever. And so I was in the hospital from the 7th, 8th, the 9th, I was completely fine. Literally, it's like I went to almost the brink of death, and then I came right back. And then they were like, oh, you have no fever, you're good to go. They took the line out, and when they take the line out, they literally snatch the line out of you, and you feel it. And then they released me, and then I came home to recover. But I still had to go to the doctor every day to follow up, just so they can make sure you're good to go and check your counts and all that other stuff. But I had to take an Uber to the doctor every day. And that is why you need a caretaker to be with you, because the diarrhea didn't go anywhere. I found out later that when you get a stem cell replacement, your gastrointestinal cells are the last ones to regenerate. And so I had diarrhea for like 30 days. So going to and from in the Midtown Tunnel, I'm in New York, in the Midtown Tunnel in the back of an Uber, oh my God, I had to use the bathroom. You gotta hold it. Like it was like the worst experience ever. I'm laughing now, but it was traumatic. It was traumatic. And during that time, you're not gonna feel attractive. You're not gonna feel sexy. You're not gonna feel like you the meow. You are just trying to recover. You're just trying to live. And it really felt like, oh God, like I just want to live. Like, what did I do? Like it's hard, and that's the hard that they don't explain to you, but it does get better. So I understand where they come from. Like, it's gonna get hard, but it does get better. But they don't, and a lot of times, like, they don't know because they've never been through it. But it gets very hard. Being an interior designer and a social media influencer and running a business, I had to really plan for when I would be down from chemo. So I knew I would be down. Chemo normally affects you probably about like 3 days after the actual chemo. So I knew I had to rest a couple of days, and then I would be down for a week. But I would literally do everything in those 2 weeks before I had to go back to chemo. So I would shoot all of my content. I would check in on my projects. Even when I was at chemo, I would be emailing, FaceTiming contractors, like trying to make sure like things were still happening and things were still moving. I just really had to really plan my life out and balance everything in between that time period when I knew I would be down and when I knew I could do all the things. And when I could do all the things, I literally did all the things. I was running around the city, creating content, checking up on projects, meeting these people here, going to this event, doing all the things that I possibly could do until I couldn't. Throughout the entire process, I had an amazing support system. My friends really showed up and showed out. They really held me down, and they really gave me the will to want to get through this and to live and to fight and to continue to dream. They would take off work and be at chemo with me. I never went to a chemo session alone. Even when I was there 3 days in a row for 8 hours a day, they were right there with me, bringing me food on their laptops, taking conference calls. My support system was amazing. One of my friends was pregnant at the time. She hobbled over here and brought me food and ate, and I was like so tired, and she was like, we just don't eat, and then I'm gonna leave you to it. My support system was amazing. Like I mentioned, my barber was an amazing support system because I've been going to him maybe like 3 years now. So we built a relationship, but that relationship with hair and like I had a full beard, like I felt like my identity was my hair. And for him to help me get through that and navigate that, and for my friends to just be there for me and be by my side and encourage me, for my family being there, my mom coming and being here with me for quite some time and sleeping on a blow-up mattress. I live in a one bedroom, fabulous one bedroom, but it's a one bedroom. But for her to be here and like help me unselfishly, it's like I'm like literally trying not to cry right now because it's just like, I know I was loved. And even though I may have looked in the mirror and didn't feel like how could somebody love me going through this, my friends showed up for me. My family showed up for me. My people showed up for me. The people who knew what was going on, they were there for me. And that really helped me get through it. And that showed me, that time period showed me I got the right people around me. Reflecting back on all of this, I asked myself the question, who am I now? I'm a completely different person. This whole experience changes you. You basically have to fight to live. And it's like, what are you living for? Why do you want to be here? I honestly don't know who I am right now. I'm in the process of trying to figure that out. I know what I want out of life. I know what I want to accomplish. But as far as like, who are you? I don't know. And I think that's okay. I think that's the beauty in going through all of this and not, this whole situation, you can't figure it out. I can't plan things. You couldn't plan it. You couldn't figure it out. It just happens. Things happen. So it's made me appreciate every single day, and I take it day by day. And yes, I still have goals. Yes, I still have dreams. Yes, I still have hope. Yes, I want to, do all the things. I want to be the best version of myself I could possibly be. And I think I am, and I'm working towards that. The old me does not exist anymore. I wanted to share my story because I felt like a lot of people don't talk about this, especially a lot of Black people. I searched YouTube and I did a lot of research about stem cell replacements and everything else. And there's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of people talking about it. There's not a lot of people who look like me who are talking about their experiences. So I hope me talking about it helps people going through this, or help somebody going through anything, and to let them know, like, it's a Bible verse or a quote, and it literally says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And honestly, it really does come in the morning. And you have to go through things. Life is not easy. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your hopes and dreams. But as long as you care, and as long as you know that there is something out there that's bigger than you and higher than you, can't nobody tell me God ain't real. I know what I've been through, and I'm still here. I've been to the brink of death several times, and I'm still here. And so I hope me sharing this shed light on the situation and help somebody going through anything. Life is not easy. Life is hard as hell, but it's all about how you react to it. I think my biggest piece of advice to anyone who's going through anything in their career or anything health-wise is, if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. I did a lot of stuff in the year that I was going through chemo. I filmed with Architectural Digest. I did Open House NYC. I was publishing a lot of publications. I showed up when I could show up. I spoke on panels. I did everything because, one, I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for me. Two, I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it and that I wanted it. And what it boiled down to is I wanted it. I want my career. I want it all. And I'm a firm believer that you can have it all, but you have to work for it. But guess what? The 2 weeks that I don't have to do chemotherapy and I'm good to go, I'm gonna go conquer the world. Because if I do die, I left something here, but I'm not gonna die. But if I do, you'll remember me. I'm Alvin Wayne, I'm an interior designer, and I'm a cancer survivor, and this is my channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this, and I hope this helps somebody.
Okay, so sign and make that note.
Yes. Ring this bell 3 times.
Oh, cool.
What's up for Easton? Horse is run. My treatment is done. Now I'm on my way. Thank you guys. Thank you.